Hi there, and welcome to Fiber and Floral, a mostly knitting podcast. I'm Becca, and this is a podcast vlog thing where I talk about my knitting. But today I also have lots of sewing to share, as well as some spinning and some gardening because spring has sprung. We are in the middle of a very delightful and long fall spring here in Berlin, Germany, and it has just been delightful. I started my guide. I started my dye garden a few weeks ago, and I've been germinating them. My windowsill is like full of egg cartons. Uh, but I will. So yeah, there's some interesting things. But today is a mostly chatty episode where I share what I've been working on this month creatively, anything creative that I'm involved in, and it is all about spring, all the spring vibes, and we're coming out of a long winter here in Berlin. It can get really dark and really cold. Uh, and so when spring hits, everyone's just smiley and happy and in a good mood. Uh, so that's kind of the theme of this month is just all things good and wonderful. So yeah, thanks for being here. Grab a cup of coffee, grab some water. I have actually drank way too much coffee this morning. So I am drinking bubbly water. And yeah, I hope you'll grab your knitting and have a good time. So, as usual on the podcast, I will start out with what I'm wearing, and it is a brand new finished sewing make. Uh, well, combined with a favorite old T-shirt of mine. This is the Orlando tee from Seamwork. One of my favorite T-shirt patterns. I've probably made 6 or 7 at this point. Uh, and then my new dress is a Styla Sheridan dress, but it is very hacked. I will post some pictures of the original pattern and as well as how I hacked it off to the side. But it is a spaghetti strap or a thick strap, I guess, and it has a straight square neckline. What I like about this bodice is it has like a relatively high neckline, but then like it comes down a little bit. It's not completely straight across, but it does allow for a high neckline, and then it comes down along the arms. It also included bust darts, which I wanted. The original pattern has like a V, so like the skirt comes up into like a really nice, like almost like baby doll upside down V shape. But I evened out the bodice. Okay, let me stand up. I evened out the bodice, switched the bust darts from the sides to going down, and then instead of elastic in the back, I sheared the whole thing. Hi, babe. And then the last tag I did, which I'm not able to show you sitting down, is that I added 3 tiers, like 3 ruffled tiers to the bottom. A very easy hack. And I'll post a picture of the full dress out to the side. I'm just really happy with it. It makes me feel so full of spring. Um, and it pairs surprisingly well with like everything. I've worn it with a long sleeve white turtleneck underneath. I just popped this on because it's kind of warm in my house this morning and I think it looks really good. And then I also plan to wear it by itself in the summer. I can easily throw a couple of different cardigans. Like I think because it is just kind of like a rainbow plaid, it matches with everything. Um, and I just love it. This fabric was a birthday gift from my mom last year, and it's just so precious. It's Fabulism. Forget that what it's called. It's a Fabulism cotton chambray. Um, Chambray is typically like the denim shirts that people wear, so it's like that kind of fabric. And it's called Happy Checkers in the color Strata. I bought this from a local German store called Kartonstoff. If you're interested in local to me, and it is just stunning. But yeah, it's been so precious to me, and I've just kept it in my closet, not knowing what to do with it. And then finally, I had this idea, and I think it's gonna be everything I wanted. Just a dress that I can wear year round, and I really just love this fabric. I've used it from everything from dresses to tops to quilting to bag making. So it's really kind of a fantastic fabric. I love Fabulism, and they are quite expensive, but they're just stunning colors, as you can see. And I actually don't have a lot of finished objects this month, so I'm actually going to start with whips. I've done a lot of sewing, and I have done a lot of knitting, but most of my knitting time has gone to a secret project, a secret test knit, which I can't share with you for like months. It is just a once in a lifetime opportunity to test this, and it was a sponsored test knit, so I got to try out some yarn uh, that I would have never been able to try out. So, but I can't share it with you until like fall, which is kind of insane. But I'm almost done. I think I have a couple more hours left of to knit, and I will be done. But that's where most of my time this month is gone, and I can't show it to you. So I'm going to start with whips, and my first whip is the Camellia Sock by Summer Lee Knits, and it has got this gorgeous lace motif that kind of looks like a leaf. I just happened to be going through her sock project book and was looking kind of for another lacy project and not wanting to buy anything. And I found the Camellia sock, and it is actually inspired by Lord of the Rings. Um, if I may, I just want to read a little quote from the book, if you will. With these socks, their delicate scrolling leaf motif would be likely worn by the elves of Middle Earth as they lounged about in their chairs made of vines, contemplating the sixth dimension of time or perfecting their skincare routine. This lace pattern may look daunting, but don't let that deter you. If Theoden the King could ride for wrath and ruin, you can knit these socks. Um, if I didn't already love Summer Lee, I would love her for that paragraph alone. So I had to knit these socks, and I am done with the first one, and I actually cast on my second one yesterday, and then my needles broke. So I have a special pair of Knit Pro 2.25 millimeter needles that I like to use for socks, circular needles, and so I just ordered another pair. I find for lace socks, circular needles and the wooden work really well for me. So unfortunately, they do break quite often because the wood is so thin, but they're the most comfortable for me to knit with. Anyways, back to the pattern. Um, this gorgeous lace motif, and I actually hacked it to where the lace motif is on the front and the back. I just had this vision of so here in Berlin we wear house shoes. I work at a school. Everyone, the kids and adults, we all wear house shoes, and basically we change from our outside shoes into an indoor shoe, often like a nicer flip flop or something like that. And I had this vision of me like walking around at work in my little Birkenstocks, house shoes, and like these on the back. And I had to do it. So it's on the front and back. If you're interested in doing something similar, I have those notes in my Ravelry, which is big for me. When I went to start the second sock yesterday, I was like, oh no, I don't remember what I did. Oh crap, I bet I didn't write it down. And I went to check my Ravelry, and I did. And I was so proud of myself. I had instructions that were easy to follow. And I was like, thank you, former Becca. Um, you actually wrote down things for once. So I really love it. I love the color. This is just the Ficolana sock yarn, whatever my local yarn shop had. It's just a really cheap but really good quality sock yarn by Ficolana, and I just think it captures spring. I'm also doing this for, there's two cows that I'm participating in, two knit alongs. The Birds Are Back knit along and the Greener Spring makes knit along that you can basically knit anything spring themed or floral, and so this is one of my contributions. As you can see, this is my March sock. I'm trying to knit a pair of socks a month. I only finished one, so I am behind, but I'm not going to stress because knitting is supposed to be fun. And I also think I can probably catch up by April or May and not worry about it. I also think with World Book Day coming up, it will be really nice to have a little book inspired sock. Last year I knit the Hobbiton vest, and so this year having like another little hobbity Lord of the Ringsy sock will be really nice. And that actually leads me to my next whip, which I'm also hoping to get done by World Book Day. Maybe I'll just have a whole hobbity outfit. Is I am making I'm in the process of making the Elevenses Backpack by So Liberated. I'll try to post a finished picture here because, as you can see, I am still in the process of assembling all the patterns. But it's just the dream backpack. This is the front, and then so it does look really big, but it's designed to be kind of rolled down, and then it'll clip like that. So this is the front pocket. It is quilted, and then it has a nice big pocket in front, and then the back. I actually quilted my own, or I padded, sewed my own padded straps, which is really interesting. I've done several bags before, but I've never done padded straps, and I was honestly just so impressed. The instructions are so clear, but I was really worried. And so I've got most of the front assembled. There's also like water bottle holders on the side that I still have to assemble, and then I still have to add the bottom and sew it all together. But this has already taken me, I think I spent 3 or 4 nights sewing this up this week. And so it is a long sew, but I think it's going to be worth it. As you can see, I used the leftovers from this dress, which is also what inspired me. I was like, I have to finish this week so I could use all the scraps in this bag. And then this is also another Fabulism print. It has these like small little subtle X's in there and pairs really well with this fabric, I think. And then this is Ruby Star Society quilting fabric. And then this is just a standard house canvas. I get all my bag making supplies from myostoff.de, which is like our version of .com. It is my go-to for bag making supplies. Every time I've made a bag, I've sourced all my hardware from there, and I can't recommend them enough. They have really high quality hardware, and just their house canvas, their like standard canvas is really good quality, and I'm just so happy and chuffed with how this is turning out. It's one of those projects where like my husband had met some friends on Tuesday night and left and came back, and I was just sewing this the whole time, and I was like, oh wow, you're back early, and he was like, no, I'm back, it's late, it's time for bed. And I just hadn't realized that it had 3 hours had passed. So it's one of those like, patterns that has just really got me in the flow, and it's just been an absolute joy to work on. And I'm I'm really struggling with like wanting to rush to get it done, but also just wanting to take my time and go slow. And when I start to like be like, oh, I can skip that, I'm like, no, it's time to put it down. This is worth doing well. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited to sew this up. My backpack of the last 5 years finally just had its last leg, so this came the perfect timing. And instead of buying something, I'm spending time making my dream backpack, and it makes me really happy. So that is one of my sewing whips. And then my next knitting whip is the Bifurca Vest. I was hoping I could get the whole entire colorwork section done to show you, but alas, I did not manage that. But this is the Bifurca Vest by Teddy Lipsack. Sorry, it's hard to see because it's all scrunched up on my needles, but it features a very low V-neck vest. And then this kind of a raglan construction. It's just a very rectangular raglan construction. And so here are the raglan points. And then the color work is little blooms on the side. I'm really intrigued by this construction. So you knit the raglan, and then I believe you knit down a little bit and then knit the sides together, and then come back and knit the waist ribbing and the arm ribbing. So it's just like a very interesting construction. I think Teddy Lutzak is just such an interesting designer, and I really just so unique and very just creative. And her patterns I've seen nothing like. I'm really enjoying seeing the little flowers kind of bloom, if you will, on this color work. I will say it's a sport to DK weight yarn is what she recommends. I think she knit things with a DK, and I had sport, and so that's what I used. But I cannot imagine doing this with any thicker yarn. The neckline, which I love the ribbing on here. It looks just almost like store bought. It is on 2.5 millimeter needles, which is insane. Like a DK weight yarn on 2.25 millimeter needles. I'm glad I used a sport weight, but my hands were hurting so bad. Even now, I'm on 3 millimeter needles for the body, and I will say my hands are hurting a little bit. I am a loose knitter, so thankfully it's not too bad. But it is, if you are someone um, who does have hand problems often, this may not be the pattern for you, just to be honest. But it is stunning. I love Teddy Litzak, and I just am really happy to see this develop. I was hoping it would be done by this point of the year because it is starting to get too warm for Vest even, but maybe by the end of April. We usually get a couple cold snaps throughout the summer, so that should be fine. But I am using Fioccolana Zaga, which is a 100% lamb's wool, and it is a light fingering. I was just in the store and overwhelmed. I got this from my local yarn store, and I went on a Saturday, so there was probably 50 people in the store, and I was with both my kids, and I was just scattered trying to keep them from destroying everything. Um, I learned my lesson that I do not need to go on a Saturday with two kids. But they were destroying everything, and I was trying to find a yarn, and I accidentally grabbed a light fingering instead of the Fioccolana Sport Weight, which is actually what the white is. I think it's, what is it called? Pernilla. But it worked out that if I hold this double, because it's a light fingering, it's about the same as a sport weight. And I do like the mulling texture, and I think it's just really beautiful. It's a 2-ply, and it's just very soft, even if it is a lamb's wool. They do tend to be on the more rustic side, but it's not itchy at all. So I'm actually really glad to have this, and I think I'm actually going to have a lot left over because I got 4 balls. So anyways, um, I'm really happy with how this is going, and it's just been a delight. I love color work, and getting back into that after a month of doing texture and lace has been just like, color work really is my first love. I'm trying to be like a textured person and do a lot more lace and just like cables and things like that. But I think color work really does have my heart, and just like how much I love knitting this really shows me that. So every knitter has their own vibe and like what they love the most. And I do think I am a color work yoke person. Color work yoke person. Then I'm actually going to show you my spinning. I actually haven't been spinning a lot lately because I've been doing a lot of sewing, and I feel like I kind of have to be in the mood for one or the other. But I have been working on this um, Blueface Leicester that is hand dyed by me, and I'm doing my first sweater quantity. So this is the first 100 grams, I believe. I'm trying to do a 2-ply sport weight, and I think I'm going to manage that. It's very, ooh, that's not, that's the end, so it's not, it's come unspun a little bit, so I gotta be careful. But I just love the coloring. I'm so happy. It took me ages to like really nail down a recipe of a purple that I liked. I just had no success. And I actually combined russet red with black, and it made this purple, which is just, I love it. I think it's going to be beautiful. And hopefully I'm done by fall. And I think this is just the most perfect autumnal purple. And I just love it. Oh, this makes me actually want to pull up. Maybe I'll pull up my spinning wheel and spin a little bit today. That would be really nice. But yeah, that is my spinning. And I'm thinking I have a little bit of merino left over from uh, when I was just like messing around with dyeing, and I made like, it was white merino that I just like dyed different colors as I was learning to dye, and then I put it all together. And this is going to become a traveler shawl eventually. But I have some merino left over, and I think that like, so I have like 1 ply of this, and on my 2nd ply, I'm just going to intersperse like very subtle, small amounts of all these different colors. And so to kind of create like a tweedy, like just like a very subtle tweedy effect. Very, very subtle. And I think that's going to be really cool. We'll see. I need to figure out what I'm going for. But yeah, so that is my spinning update. Eventually one day I will knit my traveler shawl. Um and then my last whip is the DRK Everyday Sweater by Andrea Mowry. And I believe I've shown this on the podcast before. Um, if you did watch my last, like, I do every month, I try to do like one topical video, and then at the end of the month, I do like a project updates. Here's what I was working on this month. And it might look like I'm in the same place, but I actually knit a whole sleeve without trying it on. I was just like, um, took it to work. It was knitting during meetings or during knit club, and so it's not something I can try on. And got home, tried on the sleeve to see like the length, and thought I was like here, and it was just way too tight. I tend to be a loose knitter, and so Andrea Maury does recommend going up a needle size on the sleeve. I didn't listen, and it was way too tight. So I just ripped it all out this morning, and it's kind of been sitting in my pile of shame because usually I need like a week of like working up to ripping back, especially like a whole sleeve, except for the ribbing. It was pretty heartbreaking, but it is worth getting right. So I'm gonna go back and try with 3.75 millimeter needles. I'm knitting the sweater once again. My gauge. I'm a loose knitter. I'm knitting with 3.5 millimeter needles, and so I'm gonna knit the sleeve with 3.75 millimeter needles, and I'm also going to decrease less often. So I think the pattern calls for decreasing every 2 centimeters, and I'm going to do decreases every 3 centimeters. And hopefully that helps. We will see, but I will try it on more as I go. But the fit around the chest and the shoulders is just incredible. Like, I think this is easily going to become a go to sweater for me that I am just so excited about. This is one of the things, depending on if this is a sport gauge or comes out a sport gauge or a DK weight gauge, I think I'm going to consider knitting one of these again in the purple. So that was a little discouraging, but I'm very excited to pick this back up again because, um, as you know, if you've seen my style, I'm not like someone who just like knits plain sweaters a lot, and I do love this yarn. Oh yeah, this is Kingston Tweed. It's on my Ravelry if you want it linked. I picked it up. I believe they are from North Carolina. I picked this up when I was in the States. Um, and it just has this really lovely, like, tweedy effect that's not showing up right now. It kind of is. There's just lots of little colors, just like softly sprinkled around. And I just love it. And so I thought that would be enough to like interest me. And I do enjoy knitting this, but I need some kind of like little pop. But I also want this to be a staple sweater that I can wear with like really floral skirts or like really wild, even like over this dress in the winter. But I think I'm gonna go, and there is a local artist from Hamburg, Germany, which is about an hour north of us, northwest maybe. It doesn't matter. An hour north of us, called Judith Gumlich, and she's coming out. She's already come out with a German title called in English called Embroidery on Knits. I think the English version is actually coming out this summer. I mean, I do speak German fluently. I have had no problem reading the German, but if it's in English, I'm lazy and will pick the English. So, but she is kind of like the living expert. I think she was featured on Fruity Knitting recently, and I would love to get that book and like use this as like my first embroidery, just like the same yarn, like no colors. So I still want it to be subtle, but I think just like embroidering some flowers on like one side of the shoulder and like extending a little bit into the back, just like a little like moon shape of flowers that slowly like kind of decreases out, um, would be really stunning. So my simple sweater may not end up being so simple, but I do love embroider. I embroider a lot of my kids' clothes. So I think it would be an easy learning curve to just like pick up embroidery and knitting. Maybe there's some differences. I'm not sure. If any of you have done that, I would love to hear. Like, I know there's going to be some differences from embroidering on like cotton or linen as opposed to embroidering on like a stretchy garment. But especially with it being around the collar, I don't know if it's like I don't need it to stretch that much, like not on the collar, but like on the shoulder around the collar. So I don't know if I need to stretch that much. So I don't know if I have many worries, but I'll find out when I get Judith's book. So yeah, let me know if you've ever embroidered or knit. So I'm really interested. Um, yeah, and those are all my whips for this month. The only other two things I've finished are sewing projects. I test knit this skirt for Styla, which is where this dress is from. I'm on their testing team. So they just like mention if they need testers and you sign up. And I really enjoy testing for them. And they have a skirt coming out next week that's just super frilly and springy. But my favorite part is that it has shorts underneath, which you can't sell because they're in the same fabric. But for biking in the summer with like a little short skirt, but I don't have to worry about like or if like I'm at work with kids, I can wear those short little skirt. I mean, it's like mid thigh, so it's like a normal, like my jean shorts also go that high. So I sewed this and it's so springy. It's in a cute little drapey viscose. And then I tried one of their t-shirt patterns. They like if you're they gave me this t-shirt pattern to pair with the skirt so that when I take pictures, uh, both of their patterns are in the picture, which I think is actually a great marketing tool. They do this a lot. Like if you test for them, if you're testing a t-shirt, you can get one of their bottoms. They'll give you one of their bottoms and you can sew both, which I think is, yeah, just makes super sense of like, here's our whole pattern. And like, you get to see what patterns they have that look good for them. I enjoy testing for them, but this is just a simple, my 2-year-old snotted on this today. So I am spot washing it, but it is just a simple cropped boxy tee that looks super adorable with the skirt. If you've noticed, I have like 4 shirts in this color. I just got like 4 meters of this fabric from a fabric market a few years ago, and basically I love this color, um, and I've just kept making t-shirts with it. But that's one of the things where I think it's good to know like what colors you love on you, and you just can make. Like if you find a yarn that you're just like every time you put on a sweater, you're like, oh, this is my color. You can make 5 different sweaters in that color. Unlike with the store bought, you can just buy that one sweater. But here, if I want to buy 4 meters of the same fabric and make 6 different t-shirts with it, I can. Brilliant. Making your own clothes is such a gift. Anyways, so those are my finished objects, all sewing, no knitting. But that's okay. Sometimes that happens. I actually almost didn't want to record a video because I was like, I have nothing to show. But I think that it's okay sometimes to be like, I have nothing to show. Even though I've been talking for the better part of 30 minutes. So, um, but like I said, these are chatty. And then what I'm casting on next. So I actually did buy some wool. If you've been around this year, you know that I am trying to work through my stash and not buy yarn. But this was a yarn that I knew I was already going to buy this year. So I'm not counting it as like breaking. I knew I've been wanting to try this yarn for many years. And I, at the end of last summer, just ran out of time and said, okay, next summer. So, but Nippy the Label, who's one of my favorite new designers, uh, is testing the Terra texture top, and it has a DK weight gauge. And so I thought it would be a perfect chance to use this wool. I only got 5 skeins, which they are like little baby skeins. They're 50 grams, and supposedly there are 120 meters of fabric in this little ball. But it is drop spell, and there was also a sale from one of the yarn shops that I ordered for it. So the whole garment will only cost me €7. So the balls of yarn were on sale for €1.50, which I thought, 5 balls of yarn isn't too bad, especially when I knew. I'm going to stop justifying now because I think you people understand. But it is a 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. So it's very similar to Sandnesgarn Lina, which I have knit. I knit 1 or 2 tops with last summer. And so I wanted to try this is kind of like the cheaper version, but I've heard lots of good things about it, and I heard it knits up almost identically. So I wanted to try this and see how it goes. So yeah, I'm really excited to cast this on this month or in April, and I think it'll just be a super quick knit. It's like a little strappy tank top with a lace panel down the center. It's also a high neckline, and I think it's just gonna be adorable. So I'm really excited to knit that up for her. This is my first pattern by her, but she has a couple designs that I've been eyeing. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. And then I just wanted to mention real quick, like what I've been reading and show you some of my little seedlings that are growing from my dye garden. I finished this month The Lost Flock, by Jane Cooper. And this book was so inspiring. It's definitely on the slower side and is very a slow, kind of relaxing memoir, but so inspiring. Jane Cooper basically came across this flock of sheep and it took them in to care for them. They had just been like roaming around the Scottish Highlands. And so she moved to Scotland to kind of take care of them. They were on the verge of extinction. And it turns out that she realized that she was the last remaining care of the last Orkney Borere sheep. And this is a sheep flock this is a breed of sheep that people thought had been lost, like it had been extinct. And so it had been refound, and she took them in, cared for them, and kind of um, breeded them with other flocks to kind of keep it going, so that the flock would not be extinct. And she got other farmers to help care for her, and so it went from a flock of like 30. I think she started with 30 to where like a flock of 300. So she just doesn't, and she did all this, like she had no experience with sheep. She just got up and moved to Scotland, to the Orkney Islands, took in these sheep and just like learned as she went as like a 60-year-old woman, which is just so inspiring. I know I feel like in our, I feel, I feel sometimes that I am too old to start something new, which I know sounds crazy because I'm only 33. But sometimes you feel like you've missed like a career path, or oh, I wish I had done this. I wish I'd studied this at university. Um, but then you see like this 60-year-old woman absolutely just like getting up and trying something new and like saving this breed of sheep that would have been extinct had she not helped. And kind of her memoir of learning. And it was just so inspiring to read and kind of see the difference one person can make. And um, yeah, just learning as you go. And you're never too late to start and blah, blah, blah. Like, just so cool. That was one of the books that was recommended to me by someone when I did a video on knitting books. And so I read that one and it's just so good. I would definitely recommend it. I think my library had it, so check into your local library, plug there. And then I also just downloaded Braiding Sweetgrass, which was recommended by Thread and Yarn, I believe is her handle, or Yarn and Thread, one of those combinations. And it is an Indigenous people's view of nature or something like that. And it is just, I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a great book. My local library also had the audiobook of that. So I think it's going to be nice to just sit and knit as spring grows and working in my dye garden and listening to this woman's, this Indigenous woman's view and experience with nature. So yeah. And on that note, I want to show you my dye garden, and then I'll be done. I promise I'll be done chatting. But okay, I might have mentioned last time that there is a local gardening expert. Her handle is Flora and Fava, which is like flowers and color in English. And I got a seed packet from her of all different dye plants. So these include, here, let me just pull out my whole thing. These are all in German, so we'll see how good my translation skills are. I also bought her book on how to plant all this. I'm a relatively new gardener. Like I mentioned, my mom is a great gardener, but I'm very much learning. So we have some hobby black dye sunflowers. We have some marigolds. We have some, what was the English word? Mädchenaugen, which is like translates to little girl's eyes, which is kind of similar to like a Cosmo, but it has like a red center, hence like the little girl's eyes. Here, I'll just show you because my translating skills are not good, especially with flowers. So one of the ones I'm most excited about, I'll show you this one. This is that's what it was, Verbetegetis, which is marigold. So these are my little marigolds. I planted these about 3 weeks ago, and they are doing so well. They're going to dye like a yellowish orange. And it's been really fun. My oldest daughter has just been like every day we go to the window, we like see how they've grown. And so like this one wasn't there yesterday, and now it's there. And we're just every time she gets so excited, she's going to Kita or daycare every day, like telling her teachers all about it, and it's just been really sweet. And then another one that I'm really excited about is this the same one? Oh no, these are my Cosmos. Um, my Cosmos, they have gone through. They've had a rough life to start. I also had them in eggshells originally, and there were more of them. And then my youngest pulled them down twice off the windowsill, and then finally I was like, you know what? They're not meant for eggshells. They get their own little plant. So I've been a little bit more careful with this one. It's up in a higher place, but still getting sun. And then what I'm really, really excited about is I have Japanese indigo. Now I only planted this one last Saturday, so about a week ago now, and so it hasn't. Well, there is the tiniest little seed planted. You can't even see it. It's right there. I don't want to do too much, but or Knit, Knitterich auf Deutsch or after in German. Um, if you haven't gathered, like working at a bilingual school, and also like most of our friendships, we kind of just like switch in and out of languages because like most of our German friends have like at least a passing to fluent knowledge of English because everyone here does. And then we also just kind of switching out. Even our kids, we're just constantly switching languages at home, and it's just you never know what I'm gonna say. Like we can start a sentence in English and finish in German, and like we don't notice, and then like you interact, like I go to film this, and I forget that you can't switch in and out. But anyways, that isn't like a normal thing. This is just like a Berlin problem that a lot of people experience. Anyways, so this is Japanese indigo. I'm so excited about this. I actually planted more of this in a egg carton this morning because I just was reading more about it yesterday. I was going through her book and just was really excited about indigo, and decided to plant more. I still have plenty of seeds left, though, in case it absolutely fails. And then I also have, in addition to Japanese indigo, which is like your traditional indigo plant, I have something called woad, which is known as German indigo. So it's a plant that's native to Germany, but it has similar effects to indigo when it dies. Like the leaves also, so it's not the flower on the indigo that dies, it's the leaves on the indigo. And so the same way with woad or German indigo is you use the leaves, not the flowers. Well, the first year it doesn't even flower, and which is also kind of cool to like get me excited about next year. It's a annual. So in the first year, it just has like these like rose like leaves. And so it kind of blooms like a rose, but only leaves. And then the second year, it grows really tall and yellow flowers. So I guess it's a biannual because it's every 2 years. You have to replant it. Hobbies, man, I gotta stop having them. But so I think it's really interesting that it grows differently in the second year. I've never heard of a plant like that, but once again, I'm not a gardener. I'm learning as I go. Um, so I'm really excited that one's already outside because since it's a native plant to Germany, it grows really well in like a cold spring. So yeah, those are my garden. I did not plan on starting a dye garden. I tend to be one of those people that just like gets an idea and gets really involved. Like last summer, I went on a field trip to my local sheep farm and was like given some wool and was like, okay, I'm gonna learn to spin now. Like it wasn't something I planned on. I just like from one week to the next got some wool, rented a spinning wheel, and now I'm a spinner. And so, as I've gotten to dyeing wool because it's a lot cheaper to buy undyed, um, like to buy undyed wool for spinning. And so I learned to dye, and now I'm like, oh, but I want to be sustainable and I want to work for sustainability. And we do enjoy keeping flowers in our garden this spring. Like we only do like the basic. Beforehand, we'd only done like basic flowers and lavender and maybe some like herbs. But so this year, but we just like decided like as I was getting ready to order some seeds, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do some dye plants. So instead of like our typical flowers, because I like also like the idea of like they're really pretty and but they have a purpose. So we'll see how it goes. I'm interested. If it doesn't work, that's fine too. But we also have a school garden. So I've talked a little bit before about like I have a knitting group, a knitting workshop at school. At the school that I work for, I work in a first and second grade classroom, but our full school is first to sixth grade, and I teach knitting twice a week. to about anywhere from like 12 to 15 kids. And I've been doing this for a year now. So I've kind of up to like kids rotate in and out so other people can join. And I've gotten up to about 30, 40 kids who know how to knit at my school. um, and like you'll just be on the break and kids will be walking around with knitting needles. Or I had a girl yesterday, I was like, I'm going on a trip, Becca. Can you cast on this hat for me? And so I was like on like eating with my class, but like trying to cast on a hat at the same time for this kid who was like leaving on vacation. Um, and then in addition to like workshops, we also each class has like a little garden area that we plant plants every spring. And so I talked to our whole first and second grade team, and we are actually going to all plant dye plants instead. And so in the summer, we're going to try to tie dye with these plants that we have made. It should be really interesting. I also go to a school that values sustainability, and we're working towards being a fully sustainable school. It's a long process, but there is a plan drawn out. And so my school is actually they've paid for me and another colleague to take workshops from Flora and Faber, who we got the seeds from. And so I'm learning how to tie dye and dye with plants. And then my colleague is learning how to take these plants and make watercolors, which is just insanely cool. Um, these workshops are available online in German. I don't think they're available in English, but I think she has information in English that might be worth checking out. But I'm just so excited. Like I said, this is paid for by my work, and I get to learn these things, but also like for my home life, but also for school, and like I'm doing these things with the kids, and just fully like getting to experience all of this with the kids, and like from like dyeing to knitting and raising the next generation of crazy knitters. um, so yeah, that is an update of what we've been working on, what I've been working on this month. I don't know why I said we. That was weird. Gonna leave it in though because weirdness is okay sometimes. Um, anyways, I hope you understood at least half of what I just said in the last 10 minutes. um, yeah, I'm so looking forward to what this spring has and all the experimenting and all the fun and just like the play that gets to be done. So, thank you for being here. Let me know what you're up to. If you're planting any flowers, if you're knitting anything springy, I would love to hear what you're knitting or working on or sewing or whatever. Yeah, as always, thank you for watching. The gift of your attention is means so much to me. So yeah, have a great day, have a great weekend, have a great start to your week. I wish you the best. Happy spring.